Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. Today we're going to talk about resume, how to create a resume specifically for IT. You can certainly use this video to make a resume for any other type of career. If you want to use this template, you're more than welcome to, but this one's going to be specifically for IT, and it's going to be based off my personal resume. I'm going to just kind of show you that I have it here on the side. I'm just gonna, it's on my second screen, so I just kind of let it peek over here. I can't show you that resume specifically because it has my personal information, but I will make this resume template based exactly off of that. Now keep in mind, this resume that I'm using it as template is a resume that I use personally, and I've gotten my current job about 3 years ago using this template, and also have gotten a lot of other job interviews that made me a top candidate for any of those IT positions that I've applied for, right? So I'm using this, my personal template to create, to help you design your own resume, if you will, based off of this template. Now, before I go ahead and start, I just want to throw this out, is that I'm using open office software. So in case you don't have Microsoft Office, for some reason you can't afford it or whatever, you can use this type of software. This is Apache Open Office 4. It works just like Word, if you will, Microsoft Office Word, or they also have other software that you can use. Of course, I'm not promoting or anything like that. I'm just showing the alternative that you can use to create this type of resume, right? So over here, if you look over here, you can leave everything at default. So I'm using Times New Roman, font size of 12, and that's perfectly fine. But from now on, starting now, we're just going to create our template, right? We're going to create a template, and then I'm going to tell you what to put in within the template guidelines as the information that you have. Okay, so without going too much into rambling, this is going to be a single page resume, right? You don't need anything bigger than that. Single page is perfectly fine, and that way, whenever employer looks at your resume, they can just have a look at one page. They don't have to flip through, because chances are employers, they don't have time to flip through multiple pages. They don't feel like reading. They just want everything on one page. You know, that makes it much more efficient and simpler, and increases your chance of getting the job, right? So starting from here, let's go ahead and hit enter 3 times, and then here we're just going to type in profile summary, right? Underneath this, and the reason I said hit enter 3 times, because we're going to have some personal information up here as a title, if you will, but we gotta have a template that we're going to create first, right? So we have a profile summary, and that's beyond that, underneath that, I should say, we're going to have a profile summary, right? It's going to be a summary of your resume as the introduction to this resume, right? But like I said, we're creating a template right now, and later on I'll show you exactly what to insert for those for each of these categories, if you will, right? So we have profile summary. We'll go ahead and center it. So make sure it's centered, Control E in our case, and then go ahead and highlight it, right? We're gonna go ahead and highlight it. Now we're gonna make we're gonna make a template, right? We're gonna create a template to make it look a little bit prettier, right? This will make it look organized. So if you go up here and go to tables and insert, and then select table, it's going to insert a table, right? So you can leave it like this if you want, but if you want to format it a little bit, you can go and select the table here, and then you can this is personally what I have. You can insert a color. So let's go ahead and insert green, and then you can go ahead and back here and highlight the words profile summary, and then change the color of the letters themselves, right? So if you go up here, and actually it's let's see, where's our color, font color, right here. So it's on the right hand side here, and then you can change it to white, right? This is how I have it. Excuse me, I just got over a cold. Kind of still kind of battling that. Okay, so we have our first part of our template, right? This is going to be for our heading, if you will. So if you're in the HTML, this is going to be our heading. So let's go ahead and hit enter a few more times here. Let me see how many times I did that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you know, you can adjust this based off information that you have, right? So it's not going to be exactly here. We're just kind of making a template a basic template that you can, you know, make adjustments to later on with the headings that we need, right? So the next thing we need is section with technical skills, right? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to highlight it. We're going to center it. And then, and like I said, I like to have tables just to make it look, you know, like that. I mean, there's just personal preference, you know, like I said, you can leave it at this, and or you don't even have to have a table at all. You can just make it bold. So let's, if I just go back here and make it bold and leave it like that, that'll be fine too. Matter of fact, you might as well do that up here to make it, you know, pop out a little bit if you want. But if you just want to make this bold like this and leave it like that, that's fine too. But I like it to format it, so I'm going to go and do that again. Table, insert, Control F. Oh, okay, I didn't want to do that. I already inserted table. I apologize for that. Okay, so yeah, what did I want to do? I want to fill the color in with that green again. I think it was turquoise. And then I'm going to change the lettering to white. And we're going to move on to the next section, right? So for technical skills, however space you need here, go ahead and leave it, and then move on down, hit enter a few times. And then next thing we're going to need is professional experience section. And of course, again, I'm basing this off of my own resume, right? This is exactly how my resume is set up, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and make it bold, center it, insert table, and let's see, table, fill color, let's see, green, turquoise 3, I think that's what I use up here. I'm actually not, sometimes I can't tell the difference between like close shades of color, so I kind of find that kind of sometimes I'm not 100% sure. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Okay, here we go. I need to change the lettering to white. I think what I did over there was fill in or highlight white. Okay, so we got professional experience section. Now we move down again, and we can hit enter a few times. We're going to need a lot of space for professional experience. I mean, I personally do because I have a lot of professional experience, right? So I'm going to move quite a bit down. And lastly, what you want, what I have, is a section called education, right? Education. And of course, in this section, you would type in your education. But we'll get back to that, right? We're going to get back to that. We're just trying to create a which one? I think I'm not sure even if I'm using, it's either it's either turquoise 4 or turquoise 3. I think it's turquoise 3. And like I said, I really can't tell the difference between those two shades myself. I wonder if that's due to spending so much time at a computer or not. But either way, once you, especially if you print this out, I'm sure you guys can tell better color anyways. So we got the template of our resume going, right? So up here, now we're going to change the font, right? Actually, let's not change the font yet because I would like to stick to this, but first thing we're going to do is type in your name, right? So my name is Irvin D, right? My last name starts with D. And I'm going to go ahead and center that. And of course, you would put your own name here. And then I'm going to hit enter, right? And underneath here, I'm going to type in my address. So my address, let's say it's 5555. My address, drive. Let's see here. I actually live in St. Louis, Missouri, right? And then my zip code, right? 55555, right? Which is not my zip code, but you get it. And then, pardon me, man, I'm still, man, I don't like this aftermath when you have cold. You just have this mucus buildup. Anyways, you guys don't need to do that. Don't need to hear that. Anyways, if you go back here for your name, go ahead and highlight it and then change the font size of this because you want this to stand out. You want your potential employer to remember this. And kind of, let's see here. What do we have? 16 here. Let's make it 19. Actually, let me look over here what I have. Okay, so 20 is too big. Let's make it 18, and then let's make it bold, right? My name, right? To make it a little bit simpler, right? So let's go back down here, and then after your address, go ahead and hit tab, and then type in your phone number. So cell, make sure you label it like this, right? For the address, you don't have to type in you know, address before this. You don't need to do this because it's given, right? We know that's your address. But for a phone, if it is your cell phone, you want to type in, you know, cell phone. So let's see here. Type in your phone number here, 555 and 55555, right? And then we're gonna hit tab again, right? Give it a little space, and then we're gonna type in your email address. In my case, I use Gmail, but you know, you can type in your email address. So my email address goes here at gmail.com, right? So you know what, I'd like to make it a little bit shorter because I want it to fit on the same line, so I'm going to make it like that, right? And this is all you need for this first part, right? This is all you need. So okay, moving on, let's go to our profile summary. Underneath here, you want to summarize your profile, of course, but you want to kind of give an overview why you're applying for this type of job, right? And base it specifically for this job, right? So you want to, let's say let's say you're applying for a desktop support position, and then for the other job that you're applying for is, let's say, I don't know, help desk, or the third one is, let's say, the webmaster, or you know, programming. You will have to adjust this part of it according to that, right? So you can summarize it like this. For example, you can say, in search of challenging career, well, if I can spell challenging, career in IT field, right? And here you can specify which IT field, right? So that way they know that you're looking for this type of job specifically, right? And the only reason I'm going to make this, let me see here. So this part here that's underlined, you will change to the IT field. That you can leave it as just IT field, but you can also specify which IT field that you're in search of, right? And you want, of course, a challenging career, right? And then let's go ahead and highlight it. Let's do, now don't highlight it on the resume at all. Don't this. I'm just highlighting it so you guys know which part of this needs to be changed to what your needs are, right? The only reason that, so don't highlight it on the resume itself, right? And then you can mention your professional, like a summary of your professional experiences. For the next part, you can say, I have acquired many skills using, or not using, working as an IT professional, professional in this field, right? God, I have struggling today. Professional, right? Admittedly, spelling is not my strongest suit. Being a foreign person myself. Anyways, this is what you would do. This is just kind of you would basically base this off your own personal experience, right? So whatever your experience was in the past, you would summarize that here, right? So now you can also mention things as in like at this job I have this many years of experience, right? You can do that, you know. And of course, I know you guys understand what I'm trying to do here. The way I teach things is to basically make it as simple to understand, as simple as possible to understand, to what you need to do or to write in this case, right? So at this job, and then you specify the job, I have this many years of experience. You can certainly do that, right? And then beyond that, you can talk about how valuable you are, right? You can say, my dedication is shown by my ability to adapt. And I'm just making stuff up based off just random things that you could say when it comes to this part of it, right? So my dedication is shown by my ability to adapt to different environments, right, within IT, and have experienced various fields. Okay, let's go back here. Various application training, right? Now, again, you need to tailor this specifically to this job that you're applying for, right? So that it's relevant, right? These are just vague information that I've inserted here, so you guys can use that as a template, right? This is a template. This is not exactly what you would put on your resume, right? This is a template. You base it off of this. If you want to type in search of challenging career in IT field and specify your IT field, that's perfectly fine. If you want to have this part, it says I have acquired many skills working as an, and then you can specify IT professional, whatever that is. You can, let me go ahead and highlight this again. And then I'm going to put in parentheses position, right? You would, fill this in. If you want to do this, that's fine, And then at this job, you specify which job, right? And then so on, so forth, right? And like I said, it's going to be very, very different for each one of us, right? If you want to use this template the way it is, that's fine. And if you want to insert your own things, that's fine. It just has to summarize anything that's going to be below this, in the below section of this resume, right? This is just a heading, introduction. We want to tell the employee, why are we important? Why should we get hired, right? Trying to explain this as simple as I can, and please forgive me. I'm not trying to be demeaning or anything like that. This is just trying to make it as simple as possible. Make it as easy as possible for you guys, because I know this can be hard to sometimes understand unless somebody shows us how to do it. And majority of videos out there, they just say you need to put this here, you need to put this there. Okay, fine. Well, how do I type that in? What kind of format should I use? I need more. Go slower, be more clear on what you mean, sound better. Stuff like that. So bear with me as I do this, and I'm sure that majority, or I don't want to say majority, I want to say all of my viewers prefer this type of stuff. So this is just my way of doing it. Okay, so technical skills, right? As the name implies, technical skills is what we're going to list it. Now, you can you can create subheadings for each one of these, right? You can make a little bit of a mini template within a template, right? So in here, for example, we can have first subheading that basically describes what our experiences is with different operating systems, right? Operating systems, right? So we're going to type operating systems here, and then we're going to highlight this, make it bold. This is exactly how I have it on mine, on my resume. Before I forget, I also made it italicized, italic, Control I. And then I hit, I hit enter. And of course you want to remove the boldness. We don't need the boldness, and also italic here. Make sure you don't have that for the next part here. And then here you would list the operating systems that you're familiar with. So if you want to type in Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows NT, Windows 2000. Now, you don't have to type in Windows each time, you know what I mean? You can just type in Windows 95, 98, NT, 2000, you know, anything that's relevant, right? Anything that you find relevant, and, you know, so forth, you know, and so on and so forth, right? Whether, you know, you have Linux experience, you can type that in. You have server, if you specify server, you want to, you know, God, today my spelling is not the best. Windows Server, let's say 2003 through 2008, let's say, you know. So here you can list all the operating systems that you're familiar with, right? And then as simple as that, right? And you may have all kinds of different operating systems that I'm not familiar necessarily with, and you can certainly list that here. So moving on, let's hit enter. And then next thing that I have on my section is software, right? And yes, operating system is software, but we want to kind of be more specific on this. So let's make it bold. Let's make it italicized, italic, and hit enter. And let's see here. Make sure that's removed here. And then tab, and we're going to type in different type of things that you're familiar with, specific software. So software that's specific to you, that maybe some of that let's see, how can I put this? Software, all the software that you feel that is important to know how to troubleshoot, right? So it could be all kinds of software. It could be, let's see, antivirus software. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to type in antivirus software, and of course be specific, antivirus. You can look, for example, you know what? Let's remove this here. Let's type in, let's see, McAfee, right? McAfee antivirus. And then nothing wrong with that. If you want to type in, for example, any other ones, right? Any other type of antivirus that you're familiar with. Nothing wrong with that. You can type in, let's see here, HP printing software, right? Oh God, printing software. One of those days, guys. I can't spell really well. And then you can, for example, type in, if you're, let's say, familiar with Oracle, SQL. Let's say you're familiar with, I'm looking at, let's see, Adobe here. I'm looking at my resume here, but a lot of this stuff I cannot mention because some of the stuff is proprietary. So of course you have proprietary software that you're familiar with. You can certainly list it here. Nothing wrong with that. And then you have Java, and let's type in OpenOffice. We're using OpenOffice right now, so we're familiar with that, right? Let's see here. If you're familiar with any type of VoIP stuff, VoIP software, you would type that in. But you know, kind of be specific. Then you can mention, of course, Microsoft Office. Microsoft. See, I like to make this under the same. I hit the tab over there at the end. At the beginning, I should say, over here. I hit tab. Microsoft Office, and then you can, if you want to be specific, you can specify, let's say, I don't know, 2003 through 2010. I'm not 100% sure how far they go nowadays. I think they go up to 2014, maybe? I don't know. Maybe 2013 is the latest. I'm not entirely sure on that, to be honest. And then, let's see, what else can we mention? Anything that you might be familiar with. And of course, like I said, it's going to be totally different for each one of us. And anything that you can think of, you would list here. Don't hold back on listing anything that you might be familiar with, because you don't know whether it's any proprietary software that you're familiar with is actually being used by this company as well. So, you know, let's just call it custom software. You know, this software that's designed within the company, or maybe something that you think is proprietary, but it's actually not. You know, this employer might be familiar with it, especially the IT person that interviews you. You know, not the HR. You know. And you know, I think pretty sure we covered this part of it here. You guys, I'm sure understand what needs to go here. So let's go ahead and hit enter here again, and then we're going to have another session here. For example, you can, well, like I said, if based off the information that you have for the position that you're applying for, you can certainly add things that are more relevant. You know, so let's say, for example, you're applying for a position that has some kind of relation to networking, right? You would type in networking, do the same format, make it bold, italic, and then type in anything that you're familiar with. So let's say Active Directory, you know, Active Directory, let's say DNS, DH, CP, VPN, and then the same thing here if you have familiarity with you know, so on and so forth, right? Just like up here, you would keep adding things that you're familiar with. These are just examples. And then let's say you're applying for some kind of position that has programming. God, I can't spell. I apologize, guys. It's one of those things. Not only, it's like I have trouble concentrating right now because my throat is so irritated. Like I constantly want to cough, and I'm trying not to, but it's really hard because my throat is getting dry and stuff. So for programming, you can start listing anything that you use to program with. I should remove, you know, Java. I don't know, HTML. Anything else, right? So tailor it to the position that you're applying for, right? Okay, so moving on, you guys get the idea of what needs to be listed here under technical skills, right? And of course, if you have hardware skills, you can certainly list that as well. Excuse me. And then, you know what? I'd like to, I'm a completionist in a way, if you will. So, hardware experience, right? If you want to list that there, that's fine. So moving on to the next session, professional experience. Not to say that any of this isn't a professional experience, but this is more of a, like a, you know, index, if you will, right? And so professional experience. Here we need to list our actual real world experience that we have, right? And only related to this job that you're applying for, right? Don't list, okay, first of all, we need to list things that are related to this job, that have the longest tenure. So what employers want to see is someone they want to hire someone who's reliable, so someone who's been around for a long time. Oh, excuse me, I need to get a drink of water here. My throat is really irritating. Excuse me. Okay, so moving on. They want to see somebody who's reliable, so you want to put your first tenure here. So let's say you did IT support. You would type in IT support at this company, right? And then here you can, for example, type in remove. You can remove bold or not if you want. I like to remove bold, and then you name of the company that you worked at, right? And then hit tab, and then type in the date. So let's say, I don't know, what's now, it's April, let's say 2000. You know what, that's too far away. Oh, that'll be a lot of that'll be a lot of experience. Let's say 2012, right? To current, right? You want to always put your current job here, and then you hit enter, right? You can make this bold if you'd like. I'd like to make it bold. Okay. And then underneath here, when you hit enter, okay, I think shift enter will remove boldness. No, maybe not. Okay. There must be a key combination. Somebody please let me know if there's a key combination. I don't have to go back and change the formatting, just hit some kind of keyboard combo. Anyways, I removed boldness here, and then here, let's create some bullets, right? I like to create bullets here for this type of section. I'm gonna go up here, and then hit bullets. So if you can't see what it's right here. So it's bullets, shift F12, right? Well, I don't want bullets up there. Okay. I messed up. All right. Okay, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay, let's hit enter there. So that way, you know what? Let's do tab, and then do bullets. There we go. This is what I wanted. Okay. So for this part, you would simply state or list things that you were responsible for at this company, or things that you were doing. So let's say first thing you can type in here. Let's say you worked at an on-site somewhere, right? You had a specific place that you worked at, and you can type in on-site desktop support, right? You can type that in, and then you can be more specific if like, but you can hit enter and then be more specific underneath here, so you can list things that you've done, right? For example, let's say you did, I don't know, PC imaging, right? PC imaging, if I can spell that. Man, I keep imaging. There it is. PC imaging, let's say, and software installation. And then you can hit enter and then list other things that you're responsible at this position. Let's say you did networking, right? Let's say you did some networking, and then you can provide what you did. Let's say you were setting up new users within Active Directory. You can say set up new users in Active Directory, right? You can type that in, and then you can also list, you can hit enter, and then you can say, let's say you did, let's say you worked on installation of the I don't know, phone systems, right? Let's say here, installation and maintenance of the phone systems, right? So let's say you worked like at the call center. Let's say call center, they most likely will have some kind of a VoIP, right? VoIP, voice. You know what? Let's list that as a second thing. Let's type in VoIP, voice over IP. Let's see, troubleshooting. Oh man, shooting. troubleshooting, right? So you would list everything that you're, you know, that you've done there. You know, let's say team leader. Let's say, I said typed in teal leader. Wow. It wouldn't surprise me if you guys went back and probably saw some things that I misspelled. Oh man, one of those days, guys. One of those days. Let's see. I don't know what else. Project management. I didn't spell that right either, did I? Wow. Well, at least there'll be something interesting here besides dry. Oh man, resume. How to make a resume tutorial, right? At least you guys can laugh at me a little bit, you know, and that's okay. You gotta, you know, you gotta have some fun sometimes. Okay, so let's do. Let's make another section here, and let's call it new previous job. Let's call it that, right? New previous job. So we would, under this section, list our other previous job, right? And we do the same thing. Name of the company. Name of the company. So the second most recent job that you've done. And then of course, tab over and kind of make sure it aligns with everything here. I like to make things align because it looks much prettier, right? So let's say you worked there August 2010, right? 2010 through 2012. Through, let's see here. You know what? We got to be more specific. April 2012, right? You see how up here we got a new job in April 2012, and here we transitioned from this job to this job, right? Let's make that bold so that it's known, and now this employer will know that we are reliable, right? You don't want to list short jobs necessarily here. Any of the short jobs that you've done, you can, and you can talk about them during the interview, but list only things that you have fairly long tenure related to this job. You know, like you don't want to list a job here that says that you worked at a fast food restaurant. You know, you can if you have nothing else to list, you know, but make sure it's kind of related, that's relatable to this, you know. And then you would do the same thing here for, as you did here for this job, right? You would, you know, list all the things you've done at the second most job that's related to this, right? So list everything related, just like in previous section, right? So that way you guys already know what kind of things need to be here for this part of resume, and now you can move on listing, you know, all the experience that you have. You know, don't put more than 3 relatable because you need to have space for other things, you know, because, and you know, we need to make this one page resume, you know. And if you want to remove like spaces in here, you know, if you want to remove spaces in here, that's fine too, to give you more room. You know, this is just me setting it up on the fly here. And you can do minor tweaking if you want to make this fit better for you. But, you know, in general speaking, this is what you would do, right? So moving on to the next section here, which we have, let me remove some of these spaces in here so we can bring that up. Last we have is education. So if you want to have just like 1 line or 2 lines for education, that's perfectly fine. Education is very important, no doubt about that. But employers don't necessarily look at this as the first source of experience. This is why we have so much up here. You know, this is why I have so much up here that talks about us and what we actually can do and have real experience doing, you know. And if all you have is education, then you might want to leave more space here. You know, you might want to leave more space and list all the things that are relevant. I mean, this, you'll have no choice if all you have is education, you know, you'll have no choice. But in our case, we have a little bit of experience, and lastly, we're going to list our education. And here we will simply describe what we have, you know, what we have as education. So let's say you have, typically I don't leave this bold, I just leave it regular. I have caps lock on. Okay, here we go. Master's degree, right? In, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, network administration, or, and then you would type in, like, for example, what year you graduated. So you can type in, so it's comma, you can type in, let's say, I don't know, let's say 1980, right? Let's say you're 1980, and then name of the college or institution, right? Institution. And then location or address, right? Right. And then you can also list, let's see here, certificates, right? Certificates. Same type of thing, right? Certificate, you can, you know, type in the date, let's say 2010, name of the certificate, and then for location, you don't have to type in location for the certificate, but you can if you want to, but I would just leave like that, you know, and they can ask you more information if they need to, right? So just kind of gonna go back and do an overview here. I mean, this is pretty much the gist of it, right? As you guys can see, this is the very basic template that you can go by, and this is all you need, just one page. You know, you fill this in, this is all you need, I guarantee you. Aside from having a cover letter, that's another story, you know, but when it comes to resume, this is all you need for IT, right? And here, I just wanted to kind of go back and tell you that here, for the summary of it, don't put more than 3 sentences, right? Don't make it too long. You don't want this too long, because when somebody reads this, they'll be like, oh, okay, great. You know, you're looking for a new job, basically. You know, okay, you have this many experience. Okay, fine, let's see what you have. Because they want to get on to this part here, you know? They want to see this, right? They want to see this first, and then they want to see this second, as soon as possible. This is why it's in the middle of the page, right? You know, this is the main concentration of what the employee is looking at. So you got to make sure that you have as much information as you can, and it can look just like this. It can look just like this, as you know, because whether it's an HR person looking at this or a technical person looking at this, you know, they will look at that you have all this experience, you know, all of this related experience to this job, right? This will increase your chance of getting an interview, if nothing else. And once you get your foot, you know, into the door, then you can at least, you know, have a chance to prove yourself that you're the right candidate for this type of job, you know. Of course, goes without saying, do not lie about anything. Don't start listing things that you're not familiar with, because I guarantee you, when you go for an interview, they might ask you, okay, so what do you know about SQL? And then they might ask you a specific question to SQL. And if you don't know, you know, if you don't know anything about this, that's it. You're not getting this job. I guarantee it. You know, yes, you can mess up one question or two. Let's say you're doing desktop support interview and they ask you, how do you fix this, and you don't know how to fix it, that's okay. That's one thing. But if you lie on your resume about the experience that you have, that's immediate disqualification. You're not gonna get the job. I guarantee it. You know, I'm just saying this for you guys' sake. You know, it's very tempting to start adding things that you're not familiar with, right? So, you know, same thing goes for anything else. Networking. You know, let's say they ask you about VPN. They ask you, what is VPN? What is it used for? If you don't know how to say, you know, if you don't know how to answer this, then you're not gonna get the job. Guaranteed. You know, anything. So be very, very careful about this. You know, don't exaggerate either. If you just have, you know, Linux, if you know Linux, right? Let's say you know Linux, but you're not, you know, 100%, you know, efficient in Linux, you could put, you know, entry level Linux experience, you know, knowledge. You can type in entry. Oh, it's over. I have insert on. Okay. Anyways. Entry level Linux, right? If you want to type in that, there's nothing wrong with that, because if they ask you about Linux, you know, all you know is how to basically use it. You're not gonna, you know, let's say they ask you about IP tables in Linux. This is a server thing, right? This is a firewall server thing in Linux. If you don't know what the IP tables are, you're gonna be screwed, for the lack of, you know, better explanation. You're not gonna get this job immediately. But if you put entry level, they're not gonna expect you to know what IP tables are necessarily. You know what I mean? So, you know, I can't stress that enough. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. I hope you like the way I explain things, and I'm sure majority of you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here on my channel, right? And then I thank you so much. Thank you so much for checking this out. I really hope this helps, and you create your own awesome, simple IT resume, or any type of other resume that you might be creating. You know, you can certainly use this type of template. Just kind of change things around, and there you go. You'll have a simple one-pager resume that works for everybody, not just for you, but for the employer. You know, if you're interested in any other training for IT, you know, go through my channel. There's a lot of stuff. I have also a lot of desktop interview questions and answers type of videos that, you know, for specific fields, for desktop support, for networking, for system administration. They're all there. You know, this will help you get ready for this type of job, you know. So certainly go through and look at them. You know, they will most likely be the videos that have the most amount of views, you know. So there is that. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye bye.